Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 186 Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan Roth, your host. Glad to be here, joined by Barry Foote. Welcome back, Barry.
Glad to be here.
And we got Eric Cassie. He's back. Right? Welcome back, Cassie.
Thank you. Good to be
And
back.
we got Hollywood Tony. Boy, he wears the name really well, doesn't he? Hollywood.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah, we got Candy. Yeah, we got Candy. Candy and I were busy today at the Miami Hurricanes Pro Day, and it was quite a day. And Ruben Bain Jr. is on my mind, and Candy will tell you I really will snap a few questions at the end of the media availability. He's a good kid, so we'll wish him well. All right, well, we have a busy agenda today. No Warren Brewster, he's under the weather. Trent Clark comes on when he can, but I'll be adding more and more pieces to this group here as we go along. I'm looking at the best depth possible. We'll go ahead with there. Well, let's talk about the Milwaukee Brewers because they have reportedly named Jacob Mizorowski as the opening day starter against the Chicago White Sox. Barry, your thoughts about the Miz getting the start on opening day?
Great stuff. I mean, if he can bring that stuff in there for 5 or 6 innings, he's going to be a handful. So, he started off great last year when he, first came in and petered out a little bit. But I like his stuff. I think he's going to be, he's Cy Young Award type stuff. So we'll see how he does.
Eric?
I think, perfect choice. I mean, as long as he keeps his command under control. Yeah, he hit the rookie wall a little bit after he came off the IL last year, but as long as he keeps his command and control, he's going to be unhittable. I'm telling you right now, he's a stud. He's going to after Woodruff most likely departs this year, he's going to be the number one pitcher in the rotation. So this is a good opportunity for Brewers fans to get a preview of what the future is going to look like.
Tony?
Yeah, this is definitely a preview of what's to come going forward for the Brewers. I was interested to see who they were going to pick because I think the Brewers were one of the last teams to pick their opening day starter. So they're going with the young guy, giving him some good experience, giving him a good feel, right? I'm sure it's nothing better than being the opening day starter for your team and showing, that confidence that comes with that. So I think he's going to be good. And, hey, the Brewers know how to find pitching, so I feel sorry for the rest of the
They do.
Candy?
How exciting. You make your major league debut June 12th of 2025, and the following year you're the opening day starter for your team. Like Hollywood Tony said, yes, that must give him confidence, and it's going to help propel him to have I'm hoping a really good year. He's young, he's 23, but he throws hard. And as long as he keeps good command of his ball, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Opposing batters are not going to want to see him.
Well, there's no question Milwaukee Brewers know how to develop players.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is just the latest in a long group of players they develop. How many miracles does Pat Murphy have in him at some point where you got to keep a few of these guys? He's got off to a good start, and now he's not a surprise to anybody when you think about it. Mizorowski's out there. He's been on the All-Star team for a little bit of postseason. Now they have him for a full year as a guy that they expect to hopefully do some things with. Great stuff. The Detroit Tigers announced a 5-man rotation. Their ace will be Terrence Skubal. Number 2 guy is Framer Valdez. Number 3 is Jack Flaherty. Number 4 is Justin Verlander. Number 5 is Casey Mize. Troy Melton is currently injured and will likely return to the team in a role from the bullpen once healthy to return. Okay, Barry, some thoughts about the Tigers' 5-man rotation.
I like their number 1. I think he's pretty good. I think it's it's a good look when you start off with the best pitcher in baseball. It's good if you got a guy like Verlander who's obviously he's old and he's been around, but if he's your number 4, that means you're not in the worst shape in the world. So. Yeah, I think they're competitive. I mean, look, as long as they got Skubal, they can pencil in 14 to 20 wins from him, and maybe even 22 or 23, counting wins they get, games he starts that they, go on to win, and he doesn't get a decision in. So, yeah, I think they're in pretty good shape.
Eric?
I mean, I think now Tarek Skubal at least finally has some help in that rotation because I felt like it was last year. It was Tarek Skubal and everyone else. But this year he's got Framber Valdez, who I think he's in a better situation. Detroit. He's got a manager who knows him in AJ Hinch, who's clearly proven he knows how to deal with people and deal with running a clubhouse. So like he's got people that know him. Obviously, Melton being on the IL is kind of a bummer, but he'll be back at some point. But I think this year though that Detroit has a very nice starting rotation. I think that it'll help them do really well this year, and I can see them winning the AL Central.
All right, Hollywood Tony, got a few people in the chat room saying hello. We'll say hello back. Andy, put them up there so if they're on YouTube, they can see their names out there. Glad to have everybody in the chat room today. Thank you very much for supporting us. Much appreciated. Ryan Tenhave, glad to have you in here. Tina Bordeaux. Okay. Hope I pronounced that properly. Okay. Go ahead, Tony.
I think the key to this rotation is going to be Jack Flaherty. Can Jack Flaherty go back to the pitcher he was before he got traded to the Dodgers? Because post Dodgers trade, he hasn't been consistent. He hasn't been as good. I like everything else around him. Like anybody who doesn't like Skubal at the top of your rotation, right? Framber Valdez has showed when he's not mad at his catchers, he's a pretty good pitcher. You know what I'm saying? Like Verlander, look, he's the old wily vet that's gonna get you. He's gonna get you your quality starts or whatever. But I really think it's gonna fall on Flaherty for a lot of these wins in this rotation because he can't be the over 4 ERA guy for this team. They need him to be more of the 2.95 ERA guy, and I think he can get back to that. He's still fairly young.
Andy?
Yeah, Skubal starts the season opening day in San Diego on March 26th. Valdez goes game 2 March 27th. Flaherty is going to pitch the final in San Diego with Justin Verlander and Casey Mize going the first 2 games against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. So that'll be interesting. And that lines Valdez to start the home opener at Comerica Park on Friday, April 3rd, if everything goes as how they have it in their rotation. I think it's a really good rotation. I mean, if you think about it, Verlander's coming back home. He pitched in Detroit before, liked it. Obviously, he's coming back home. I think the key is going to be how healthy does this lineup stay, and that's going to. That's pretty much the key for any starting rotation for any of the ball clubs. But if you can keep your guys healthy, I think it'll be a good year for the Tigers.
Well, here's what's interesting about Verlander. To me, when he got going with the Tigers, he had a guy by the name of Kenny Rogers, the elder statesman. Then he's the guy that a lot of the younger pitchers leaned on for mentor advice. Well, now Verlander gets to have that role with this group of pitchers as well. And maybe he's the guy that can sell Skubal on staying. You never know. So Justin obviously enjoyed his time. Again, Scott Boras will have something to do with it, and the market value. We'll leave that for another time. But I look at Justin Verlander as a Kenny Rogers being the elder statesman to actually be able to stabilize his staff. And I'll tell you, it is a pretty sound rotation for sure. So no reason why the Tigers can't go out there and accumulate a lot of quality starts, although I don't really care what the stat is, but you're going to have a good front 5 for sure. Let's continue with pitching. Because the Philadelphia Phillies left-handed pitcher Christopher Sanchez agreed to a contract extension through 2032 with a club option for 2023. Barry, some thoughts about Mr. Sanchez staying with the Phillies for a few more years.
I think they got him cheap. If if he can put together the numbers he's put together the last 2 years, and I think he's averaged 185 innings in year before last, 200 last year, and they got him. In my opinion, they got him cheap. Now he's a little older; he's 29 for a guy who hasn't really, he sort of blossomed later, but he's left-handed, and left-handers can put some added years on later in their career, and I think that's a great deal for them. And they needed pitching, and they tied him up, and I think they got him cheap.
Eric?
I mean, it's good for the Phillies to get him at that rate because generally the arm is the most expensive thing in baseball these days. He's an all-star caliber pitcher. Really should have been an all-star last year, but we'll have that argument about Jacob Mizorowski at another day. But he's an all-star caliber pitcher. He solidifies the middle part of the Phillies rotation, and with Zach Wheeler being out, they're going to be relying on him more than ever. But he's he's kind of a late bloomer. But to be truthful, the Phillies got him at the right time, which I think is great for them going forward.
Tony?
Hey, man, go 13-5 last year. Like you said, Eric, I don't see how he wasn't an all-star, but it's so many pitchers and it's so many spots that has to be filled for pitching for all-star. But
after 5
it's going
starts.
to be good. Yeah, well, that's a big issue. But I think he's going to be good for him. He's going to fill in. They need somebody because Wheeler's not starting the season, I don't believe. So
no, he's not.
Yeah, so that's somebody who can help solidify that rotation while he's out. So hey, pay the man. You got to pay the freight.
Andy?
Despite pitching well, Sanchez was not named to the 2025 All-Star game. But you know what the Phillies did? They gave him his $50,000 All-Star bonus anyways. I thought that was really cool and a classy gesture by the Phillies. Let's face it, Sanchez placed second in National League Cy Young Award voting behind none other than Paul Skenes. So second in Cy Young Award, runner-up. Sign him to a longer contract, get him locked in. The Phillies were smart to do that.
Well, Phillies do a good job signing their core players for long-term contracts. They're really good when it comes to contracts, for sure. So, yeah, locking this up for a period of time where it's not going to be overly too costly. More power to Philadelphia. Well, let's go to Garrett Crochet. Will become the first pitcher since 1986 to make an opening day start in each of his first 3 seasons as a starter. Another stud that we have here, Barry, Garrett Crochet.
Well, I think a guy who wins 27 games over his first 5 years of his career signs for $170 million. It's pretty smart, evidently. But I like you. Obviously, he's got great stuff, and he's probably going to be a real, big-time pitcher with the Red Sox. And, he's right up there, obviously, not that far away from Scooble. He's a great number one for them. He's a real stud guy. He's sort of a man's man out there on the mound.
Eric?
He's a hard thrower. He's clearly cemented himself as the ace of the Boston Red Sox. I know, I was a little skeptical after his season with the White Sox, whether he could keep it up or if it was just lightning in a bottle type of thing for the Sox. But the fact that he's solidified himself, he's the ace of the rotation. Boston gave him that extension. It's big, and he's a Cy Young candidate. And it's hard to get those guys every day. So what more can you ask?
Great points, Eric. Yeah, the Boston Red Sox, too, like the Philadelphia Phillies, will lock up some of their young studs, especially when you have some that you've developed on your own. More power to them. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I've been hearing the Cy Young buzz around him all off season, so it makes sense. I haven't been able to watch him in spring training because I watch little Red Sox as possible. Why would I give them any ratings? But word around town is he got a new pitch and the split fastball coming. So it scares me as a Yankee fan, but it makes sense. Like you said, Barry, you win 27 games over your first 3. You're locked up. They gave you the big contract. You're their guy, and that's how you show it, right? You give them the ball opening day.
Candy?
He was selected by the White Sox with the 11th overall selection in the 2020 MLB draft. He was called up in September of 2020 by the White Sox to become the first Major League Baseball player in 6 years to reach the big leagues in the same year he was drafted. He was named All-Star Player 24-25. Obviously, he's doing really well. Last year in the wild card series against the Yankees, he pitched 7 2/3 innings, allowed 4 hits, 1 run, earned run while striking out 11 Yankee batters in his first career postseason start. Sounds like not too bad of a start for your first career postseason. So kudos to him, and let's see how he does this year. Sorry, Hollywood Tony.
We didn't need the playoff stats, Candy. You could just gave us regular season. All right, we didn't need that. We didn't.
Well, his team got sawed off in the end there, coming back from 1-0 down to take the last two games. So the Yankees got it when it mattered.
Yeah, they won the battle, right? We won
Absolutely.
the war.
That's won the whole war.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's continue on. Again, I'm bringing some of these players up because you got younger core players that teams are locking up. You always want to see them lock up their own for multi-year deals. I think that's great. And these multi-year deals, keep in mind, they're signing them now, and nobody knows what's going to happen with baseball, obviously, in 27 either. So it's better to get these guys locked in, and they indeed have done that. So, well, the Angels have missed the playoffs. Now they've been out 11 seasons in a row, which is the longest out in MLB. But do you think, Barry, that they can finally break the drought this year?
No, I don't think so. I think,
Okay.
I think one of their biggest mistakes, in all honesty, was not trading Trout. When Trout was at his height of value, they could have gotten a whole core of players for him that would really, especially if they weren't going to be able to sign Ohtani. I think you trade Trout. Love to have traded him to the East Coast so we could see him play more. Now he's not the player he used to be. But I don't see. Look, that's just a graveyard for some reason for players to go and just die on the vine. So I hate it for them. And now they got the very long shadow of the Dodgers out there. So I think it's going to be another long year for them.
Eric?
No, I can't think of an I can't think of it. I think this might be the only organization of baseball that's dumber than the Pittsburgh Pirates. This team under Ari Moreno. This team has been an absolute train wreck. It seems like they're a circus both on and off the field, and they actually might be They actually just might be having the same circus that just might be crazier than the New York Mets ever could come up with. Right. But their biggest mistake was they didn't trade Shohei Ohtani. I know the Rays were actually reportedly interested in him. They would have given him that I forget his name. He hit 45 bombs this year. I think Candelario. They would have acquired him, and they would have been able to kind of have something to build off of. Yes, they would have stunk in the meantime, but at the very least, they at least are heading in the right direction. Instead, you keep those two, you keep them, and all they're doing is they're the best players on an awful baseball team. There is no way they're going to end that drought. As a matter of fact, under Ari Moreno, they will never go to the playoffs ever again. And with the Dodgers out there, they're definitely not going to the playoffs again.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta echo what the fella said before me. Is no way, no how. And I agree. I understand as a GM, I guess you don't want to be the guy who said that you traded Mike Trout at the height of his powers, right? You don't want to be the guy who say you traded Shohei Ohtani. But me as a GM, I'm just trying to make my team better. And if we're coming in last place and missing the playoffs with you as the best player, we can do that without you. Let's try something else. They should have made the trade. They should have did something to shake it up. And now they're stuck in purgatory. And that purgatory gets you between 60 to 75 wins a season. And we're watching Mike Trout just waste away.
Well, Mike Trout's probably more of a tragic story than Don Mattingly, considering how great that Trout really was. But here's the old adage, though. The Rays and the Brewers seemingly make these trades with no mercy, without even blinking, and that's why they've been able to contend for the longest time. Instead, forget it. It goes something like this: if you listen to the fans, you'll be among them. And so far, the Angels, they don't. I don't think they even have fans to even live up to the adage.
Interesting stuff. Okay, Candy.
They have not appeared in the postseason since 2014, the longest active playout drought of any MLB team. Their 10 consecutive losing seasons from 2016 to 2025 is a franchise record of fertility. They're not going to be good this year, I don't think. Either they don't know how to spend their money, and they don't know how to play cohesively. So they have a lot of issues, and I don't think they're gonna get rid of any of them anytime soon.
Well, we've talked about the Pirates now. Candy and I had an opportunity over the weekend to watch the Pirates and the Blue Jays. So what we're going to do is we're going to lead off with Paul Skenes. I'm going to give you his numbers through 50 starts, and that's it. Paul Skenes, we had a chance to see him pitch 4 innings, and I don't think he got the win, but he had like 4 innings and 5 strikes. Now it's a 3 walks. He looked pretty good after coming off the WBC. But his ERA through 50 career starts is 2.02, the second lowest since 1920, and his wins 19 is tied for 610th most since 1920. So I'm looking at those numbers, and it just blows me away. But let's just talk about Paul Skenes in general. This kid's a stud, Barry. He really, truly is.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, I think you got a good example of him pitching against the Dominican Republic in WBC. He did not have his good stuff, yet they couldn't really do much with him. They got, 1 run off of him. Yeah, a real winner is able to win without their best stuff. I think he's going to be outstanding. I mean, the only thing to get a guy like that is he hurts his arm or something. Other than that, he doesn't throw too many balls that are straight, and he doesn't throw too many balls in the middle of the plate. So he's going to be a handful for any team to work against.
Eric?
I mean, he's the best pitcher in baseball right now, bar none. There's a reason. He's somehow managed to have back-to-back seasons where his ERA is less than 2, and he's won the last 2 National League Cy Young awards as deserved. It's a shame that he's wasting away in Pittsburgh of all places, when the guy could easily be pitching in the World Series. Now, as far as arm injuries are concerned, well, these days in baseball, it's bound to happen. But with Tommy John these days, it's as Tommy John's become as easy to bounce back from as taking your car in for an oil change. But he is the best pitcher in baseball, and I pray that when he reaches the free agent market, I know for a fact he's going to be a very rich man, but I hope he's pitching for a contender, so that way the entire planet could see how great he is.
Great points. All right, Tony.
Yeah. Skenes has dominated since his senior year or whatever his last year was in LSU. And to see that translate to the big leagues is impressive, right? Like you can do that in college, but to do that in the big leagues is just a whole nother level. I agree with you, Eric. I hate that this is going to be almost like a Chris Sale situation in Chicago. We're just going to see him towards the end of the year. He's going to be all these starts that don't matter, or they might end up shutting him down a little bit early because none of these starts are going to matter. And we deserve better as fans, man. Like, we need Paul Skenes pitching in big games. We need to see him in the playoffs. Hopefully Pittsburgh does something to put at least a decent team around him so we can at least get some wild card starts out of it. But
Right.
a stud, man. Like you said, Barry, watching him against the Dominican Republic, if you had any questions about his skill, I think he silenced all doubts in the WBC.
Candy?
He was selected by the Pirates, first overall selection in the 2023 Major League Baseball draft. Him and Dylan Cruz became the first college teammates in MLB draft history to be selected, the first 2 overall picks. Skenes was the second player in LSU history to be selected first overall in the draft, joining Ben Donald. He signed with the Pirates July 18th of 2023 for a $9.2 million signing bonus, the highest ever by a drafted player. He's lived up to every point of that. Here is actually a picture of him pitching in the game. He is dominant. has such a command, and he's a tall player too. I forget what he is. Let me see. Does it say on here? It doesn't. But he seemed pretty tall, and so when he throws, he has such a command. I mean, let's face it, his ERA through 2025, so he made his major league debut May 11th of 2024. Through all of last season, his ERA is 1.96. I wish the Brewers could afford him. I know they can't, but I would love to see him in a Brewer uniform. It'll never happen, but hey, I can dream.
Well, the one thing I noticed about Paul Skenes is this guy feels his position really well too. So, I wouldn't be surprised at some point down the road if he gets a Gold Glove, if he hasn't had one already, for being a great fielder. Well, the guy's unbelievable. So, speaking of the Pirates, continue the Pirates theme, because obviously they haven't made it in 10 straight years, which is the second longest drought in MLB behind the Angels. But can they return to the playoffs with this group, Barry?
If the shortstop comes up, maybe they can. I mean, they got best prospect in baseball in the minor leagues, and eventually they'll come together. I mean, I'd like to see it. When I was playing against the Pirates, they were a contender every year, and they have slowly gone downhill and to the point where 10 years in a row. But no, I'd say they're probably another year or two away, but they possibly have got enough players to make a run at it in a couple years, but I don't think this is the year.
No, one thing, they get a good manager in Don Kelly, so we'll see. I mean, he's last year he replaced Derek Shelton and had a pretty solid year, and then they gave him the full-time job for sure. Eric?
I mean, they got a nice rotation though. I mean, a nice rotation will get you really far in life, but not yet. I still think their lineup needs a little more length to it. I don't think it's there yet. Yeah, you got Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz, but again, both of them have had their issues with injuries and have got to figure out how to stay healthy. But but I don't think we're there yet. They've made some nice steps in the right direction. I think this year they might be able to hang around for a little while, but I can't see them making that jump yet. But I think about another year or two, you add a couple of free agents in there, and then I think they might have a chance at it.
This seems to be pretty intriguing. Tony?
Yeah, I think they're a year away. I do like that they're at least making some attempts at free agents. I don't think they really gave Schwarber a competitive offer, but at least they're putting their name in these conversations. And the young talent has to grow. So I think maybe a year or two they put some pieces together. But I think they'll start winning some more games this year for sure. I'm sure they're going to be more competitive for sure this year.
Candy?
I don't see him winning just yet. I do see him. I don't know if they're a year out or more like 2 or 3. Yes, they have one of the best prospects at shortstop, and they'll be calling him up really soon. They had talked about they don't know if he's gonna make opening day yet or if they're bringing him after that. But the outlook is favorable. I just don't see it happening yet this year. I think they need some other core pieces to get them over the hump.
Okay, that's fair. All right, well, guess what? Joe Block, Pirates announcer, and an opportunity to talk about the legacy of Roberto Clemente and Paul Skenes. And after he gets done talking about Paul Skenes and Roberto Clemente, I'm going to go over some interesting points about Roberto Clemente. So with that said, Candy, go to the sound bites.
So we're going to start with Skenes. Let me get that. Hopefully I got this one up in the right spot and I'm picking the right one. Let me see. Yep.
Your Pirates tenure. Give me some of the highlights that you have covering this team.
Well, this year, clearly, I mean, Paul Skenes being the Cy Young Award winner, that, as you know, in Detroit with Tarek Skubal, having somebody like that you can count on to win just about every ball game that he pitches, that's so nice. And then this year's been highlighted because there's a chance that there could be a teenage shortstop starting for the Pirates, if not on opening day, certainly early in the season with Connor Griffin. And so they've got some good talent here in Pittsburgh, and hopefully that it's going to make them the Pirates get to the playoffs for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, Paul Skenes obviously played in the World Baseball Classic. Had a pretty good little run up there. Good experience for a guy who hasn't really seen the postseason a lot. What do you think he's going to get out of that?
Well, he said that that experience obviously kind of gets you ready for pitching in front of fans, and but he treats every game that it's something that he needs to win. So whether it's a spring training game or a World Baseball Classic game or a regular season game or potential clincher, he has that ability to be able to treat every game that it stands on its own. So that's something that makes him special too, that he can compartmentalize all that stuff. And whereas a lot of athletes, of course, succumb to the pressure, he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy seems like he is iron, doesn't he? The way he's able to go out there, stand on the mound, demand the poise that he has, and it carries over to his teammates in terms of the way he goes about his business, albeit he might lack a little run support, but that's the pitcher's job is to get outs.
Yeah, and so, last year, a 10-10 record, but the Pirates bolstered their offense a good bit, bringing some veteran players in. So I think he'll see more runs on his side, but it didn't bother him, pitching in a 0-0 or 1-0 game, things of that nature, because he just continued to pitch well, even though for the most part, he's pitching in a lot of low-scoring games.
Yeah, I mean, I know the one question that's often asked to a lot of people in Pittsburgh is you have Paul Skenes for a while, but the question is, can you keep him long term? Do you think that the Pirates ownership is determined to try to keep this guy long term? Because obviously economics are going to play a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think depending on what happens in the next collective bargaining agreement, that could be something that helps the Pirates and Skenes be able to find an accord. I know that Paul likes Pittsburgh. And obviously, who wouldn't want to keep him on their team? So I think once that gets all settled out, it'll be a clearer picture of kind of what it would take financially to secure him. And then he'll also, talking about Paul, he'll have a better picture of kind of what the landscape would be going forward. But he really is a feet in the shoes guy, where he's focusing on, if he's got his next start, he's thinking about that. And so the long-term picture will play itself out. But I know he likes Pittsburgh, and obviously the Pirates like him.
All right, there you have it. That's a Paul Skenes story. Barry, come from a guy, the radio announcer, who's seen him a lot. Some thoughts about what Joe had to say about Paul Skenes.
Well, I mean, look, I think his stats speak for themselves, and he's a great young pitcher. Like I said, the only thing can deter him would be an arm injury. We also know he has great taste in girlfriends, so he's got the whole thing going for him.
Eric?
Sorry, Tony's making me laugh right now.
I wasn't expecting that from Barry.
This is a guy who spent 20 plus years at a big league clubhouse, mind you, and I'm sure he's heard it all.
That's a fact.
Not going to tell me, but I'm sure he has. But
not on air anyway.
Sure, it wouldn't be violating the rule. Yeah, well, Paul Skenes, he's a guy. He summed it up. Joe Block summed it up best. He's a guy that wants it so bad that he's willing to kind of do what it takes. Go out there, fire 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, 50 times in a row or more, or whatever it takes. He's got to win. He feels like he's got to be the guy each and every start. I mean, that's to me, that's pretty impressive. I don't think the Pirates have had a star of this magnitude since either Roberto Clemente or even Barry Bonds, for that matter, or if you could probably put Willie Stargell in that same category. I don't think the Pirates have had a star of that magnitude in a very long time. But yet here we are. The guy is one of those types of people where you better enjoy him while we got him. Otherwise, man, you're missing what's turning out to be one hell of a Hall of Fame career.
Tony?
Yeah, look, man, he's saying what we all know. He's great. He's amazing. The good thing for Pittsburgh is him having the insight of knowing that he's focused on where he's at, right? It's easy to start thinking about the future, more money, different market, different teams. It's good that he's grounded where he is, and he's going to be a team player no matter where he's at, because he's going to be there for at least a couple more years. So you might want to lock in, but he's been locked in. He's been a great pro. And yeah, I didn't think about that, Eric, but yeah, this is the biggest star they've had since Clemente, and that's saying a lot.
I mean, a guy who could just capture baseball like that.
So I did look it up. Paul Skenes is 6'6", so that commands a lot too. And to everybody's point, like him being happy in Pittsburgh and being willing to stay in Pittsburgh when you know there's other teams that will shell out money for him. But yet he's happy in Pittsburgh, and that's where he's at right now. One of the biggest, like you said, one of the biggest players they've had in a long time. I wish him well, as long as it's not against my team. That's all.
I mean, the Brewers have figured out how to bang him around, though.
Let's hope it stays that way.
Again, he's a stud. If he likes being there, then Bob Nutting has to find a way to surround him with some pieces and make it interesting for him to stay, for sure.
That's a pipe dream, guys. He ain't going to be there.
Bob Nutting's the equivalent of Mr. Krabs in real life.
Well, it is a pipe dream, but that's the only shot you got with this kid. All right, so let's move on to Roberto Clemente. And I know that Joe Block talked about him and the legacy of the Pirates organization. Go ahead, Candy.
Okay, share screen here.
Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell. How much do you embrace the history? Because let's face the reality, Clemente gets his 3,000th hit, and then he does that noble thing that unfortunately cost him his life. But you have a ballpark in PNC. I've yet to have been to it, but talk about just being able to represent the Pirates tradition and all the great players that have been here, plus the World Series that you've had along the way. Because I know recently Bill Mazeroski passed.
Yeah, and that's really the last living Hall of Fame Pirate. As it stands right now, Dave Parker was inducted, as it turned out, posthumously last year. So with the Pirates as they stand right now, it's looking back at a lot of the greats from times gone by. And so people of a certain age remember the 70s championships and Pops and Roberto and Maz and some of the predecessors there too. So Pirates have a great history. It's just trying to rekindle that again with this current group, and you're mentioning Skenes earlier, and maybe some of these other guys. Who knows? Maybe that could be the next generation that represents the Pirates in the Hall of Fame one day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you can retain the talent, and now you have a manager who's pretty even kill like Don Kelly. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. Pirates certainly have tradition. Barry, Roberto Clemente is one of them. Then I'm going to go over some things about Roberto Clemente as we look back on him. What are your thoughts about what Block had to say about the Pirates tradition, namely Roberto Clemente?
Well, Roberto Clemente was a great baseball player and a great human being, and that's hard to come by, and was very misunderstood during his playing career. He was considered, a guy who kind of moped around and all. And that wasn't really who he was, but he was a great player. In the tradition of great players they had. I mean, look, one year he should have won the MVP. Dick Groat wins the MVP. Clemente, probably some racism involved, and Clemente doesn't win it. And Dick Groat wins it at shortstop there. But he's a great, great player, great human being. I was fortunate enough to play in his first Memorial game in Puerto Rico against the Pirates, and just a great guy. I mean, those are the kind of people that are your legacy of your organization, and he certainly is that.
Eric?
I think that, again, he was probably the first, one of the first real superstars in the modern era for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're impressed when guys get hosed at third base from the outfield. Well, that was just Tuesday for Roberto Clemente, because eventually runners stopped running because they knew that Roberto Clemente knew the walls and would be able to get you out no matter what base you're running to. And he was also a very prolific hitter. I mean, he's he deserves every bit of being in the Hall of Fame. It's just too bad his career was cut short. Otherwise, I think he still had a few more years left in him.
Tony.
Yeah, when you think about all the accolades that he racked up as a baseball player, even with a shortened career due to the tragedy, and to really imagine the fact that he was a better human being than a baseball player, that just shows how great he was as a human being, because he was a Hall of Fame baseball player, man, and that's just amazing. To this day, I'm in Orlando. It's a lot of Spanish community. I'm at my son's baseball games. I will see a Roberto Clemente jersey at least once a week, right? So that just shows the greatness of him as a person, as a human being, because not a lot of Pirates fans, right? They're Roberto Clemente fans, and that's just amazing. And it's most of it doesn't even have to do with baseball. It's him as a human being, and that's what we should all strive to be, right? Be the best humans we can be.
Amen.
There you go. Candy.
He was an all-star for 13 seasons, selected to 15 all-star games. He was National League Most Valuable Player in 66, National Batting Leader in 61, 64, 65, 67, and a Gold Glove Award winner for 12 consecutive seasons from 61 through 72. And here's one piece that I didn't realize. His batting average was over 300 for 13 seasons. 13 seasons over 300. And he had 3,000 hits during his major league career. He was the first player from the Caribbean and Latin America to win a World Series as a starting position player. And he had some obviously all kinds of other awards. The commissioner gave him.
Candy, I'm gonna get into a bunch of those myself. All right, I'm asking you talk about the player, and I appreciate you coming up with some research, but the reality is he's Roberto Clemente. He's obviously, what he is. What are your recollections of Roberto Clemente, Candy?
Well, I don't remember seeing him play that. Obviously I was too young at that point. But great baseball player, great human being.
Okay, so let me go over some of the particulars. He's the first Latino to gain election in the prestigious museum, and the BBWAA announced results from a special ballot waiving the 5-year waiting career. So on March 20th, obviously 1973, the late Roberto Clemente gets voted into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, March is a little bit later because of the tragedy, but that's what happened. So let's go ahead to the particulars. Roberto Clemente played in 18 MLB seasons from 1955 to 72, all with the Pirates, and he was one of the greatest fielders in baseball history, as Candy alluded to. He finished his career with exactly 3,000 hits, a 317 batting average, 240 home runs, 1,305 RBI, reaching the 3K milestone in his final regular season at bat. That's incredible. Clemente helped the Pirates win 2 World Series championships in 1960 and 71, and was named the 1971 World Series MVP after hitting .414 against the Baltimore Orioles. He was named the MLB National League MVP in 1966, batting .317 with 29 home runs, 119 RBI, and an .896 OPS, and an 8.2 B WAR. Of course, I don't know if they were calculating it back then, but that's what they've done now. Clemente was a 12-time Gold Glove winner from 61 to 72, widely regarded as defensive outfielders to grace the diamond. And after that, as I mentioned, he was posthumously inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 73, becoming the first Latin American-born player to be enshrined. And we'll go over his final numbers. In 18 seasons, 2,433 games, he has 3,000 hits, 240 home runs, 1,305 RBIs, which is 114th all-time still to this date. Runs 92nd all-time at 1416. Batting average 317, 66 all-time. OPS 834. And B WAR 37th all-time. So we'll continue the narrative again in terms of the achievements, and then we can go from there. Again, he's a Hall of Fame class of 73, 2-time World Series champ 1971, World Series MVP 1966, National League MVP 15-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glove, 4-time batting title, 2-time 20 home run season, 1969 NL triples leader, 4 times 200 hit seasons. So really what it comes down to is this. When you talk about the guy, he just simply do it all. Barry, I mean, what do you think? What do you think of those numbers in general?
Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah.
He was a great defensive player and got the Gold Gloves to prove it. And offensive, I think the 71 World Series really woke up the baseball world to who he really was. I played in Pittsburgh. You didn't get the kind of TV that he got in the World Series. You finally got a chance to appreciate him in the 71 series.
Yeah, no question about it, Eric. I threw a lot of numbers. And for all you folks out there that look at the numbers, if I talk too fast a little bit, that's okay. Replay the show and then take a few notes if you're a real big, avid Roberto Clemente fan. That's why we have these things out there. Just replay it. Roberto Clemente is just somebody that, I believe he could have played a couple more years. Unfortunately, if it hadn't been for this tough tragedy. Eric?
I think that he's again, it just highlights how much of the Hall of Fame career he did have. I mean, not only was he a great player, but a great person as well. I mean, he played the game right, and then he also was one of the greatest humanitarians out there, especially for the time. Probably not in terms of professional athletes, and not equaled until Muhammad Ali.
Great points, Tony.
Baseball wise, all the stuff you laid out, what is 5? All 5 tools. All right. 5-tool player. That's just what it showed. He can do everything on the field. Everything worked out for him. And that's how you become a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. All right, Candy, obviously, anything you want to add to it? You're on mute, Candy.
In 1972, he died in a plane crash at the age of 38 while en route to deliver aid to victims of the Nicaragua earthquake. The following season, the Pittsburgh Pirates retired his uniform number 21. In his honor, Major League Baseball renamed the Commissioner's Award, given to the player who best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team, to the Roberto Clemente Award. That speaks volumes when you name an award after him and now you give it away in his name. I think that says a whole lot about him as a person and what he meant to Major League Baseball and what Major League Baseball thought of him.
Yeah, great points, Candy, all the way around. You get an award named after you in this sport, then you're doing awfully well, that's for sure. Great comeback, Candy. I appreciate that additional information. All right, well, let's talk about Kenley Jansen. He's now with the Tigers, but he made some interesting comments that everybody in sports does. Because when he was with the Angels, he once said, "We're going to go take care of business up there in Sacramento." Well, this is common, where if a team moves, you're going to revert back to the original city. So I can't tell you how many times. What are your thoughts, though, about his little mix-up in geography, Barry?
Well, Oakland, Sacramento, throw them in a basket and then throw them out with the wash. So I don't think either town, does much for me. Bad place to play. I understand that Sacramento was a good hitter's ballpark back in AAA days of the Pacific Coast League, but hey, Jansen's been around long enough. He can make a faux pas like that. I don't think it makes much difference.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of times mess up with the LA Chargers and the Raiders. I mean, it happens all the time. It probably takes 2, 3, 4 years for the average individual to kind of figure out where the actual geography is for sure. So, Kenley, that's okay. All you did was just do what everybody else on the planet has done. Okay, Eric?
I mean, it happens. I mean, when they've been in that specific place for a long, long time, you tend to refer back to that place. It's, I'll give you an example. Sometimes I will refer to the Washington Commanders as the Washington Redskins or the Cleveland Guardians as the Cleveland Indians. For the first 28, 29 years of my life, that's what they were called. It's ingrained in my brain. If people are upset about it, I'm sorry. But it's just an old habit. That's what they were when we saw them. That's just who they were called. That's all that it is. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it happens. Tony, Hollywood Tony.
Hey man, me and Kenley Jansen are in the same boat. I find myself calling them the Oakland A's to this day. When they move to Vegas, I'm probably still going to slip up a few times and call them the Oakland A's. I still call the Raiders the Oakland Raiders sometimes. Like it just. Like you say, like you just get used to it. We're talking literally 30 years of muscle memory, man. It takes a long time to break that. So it happens. And Kenley Jansen, it depends on when the question was asked, right? Hey, sometimes he's getting off planes, he might not know where he at in the midst of the season. Right? It's like it's a lot of factors that might be involved with that.
That is true. Almost like a time machine, isn't it, Tony? I would think.
Yeah, it's like, wait, where are we? So
that can happen. If you get off a plane, you don't know where you are.
Candy?
It's kind of like the naming rights of these stadiums. Miller Park will always be Miller Park. It's not American Family Fields for me because I've known it for so long as one. So just like some of these infamous stadiums that are, and I'll be honest with you, they've talked about, and this is like sacrilegious to me, they've talked about what are they going to do at Lambeau Field, because Lambeau is Lambeau Field, and they're talking about selling naming rights to that, and I just can't see it. So there are some things that you just always associate with, certain things like the Oakland A's, the Houston Oilers. I mean, there's just, you go back, there's all kinds of different ones, and whatever you knew for the longest time, it's hard to switch and change up what it's called now or where the team is playing now. So,
yeah.
There's nowhere. Everybody has a short memory because all these teams are moving everywhere. All right, with that said, I don't know what a weekend would be. We've had to deal with it for a few years now. But in baseball history, Vince Scully passed away on August 2nd, 2022 at the age of 94. I don't think baseball's been the same without Vince Scully, albeit he lasted 94 years. But Vince Scully is definitely a treasure, Barry.
Oh, no doubt. He was the best announcer when I was coming up through the big leagues. He was iconic in that town. I mean, they all but red carpeted him in every night. He was part of the Dodgers history, and was a very, very nice man as well.
Yeah, I wish I would have met him. I never had the chance to. Every time I tried to get to Vero Beach, I'd always find a way. I would always miss him, but I grew up with Ernie Harwell, and he's a mentor of mine. But yeah, that's one thing I wish I would have done, was meet Vince Scully. But some ways, when you listen to his storytelling and all that, you will feel like you did, don't you, in a certain way.
Yeah,
Eric.
I mean, you could, Vince Scully is probably the only guy in baseball who could tell the story about the history of home plate and make it sound entertaining. But he truly was. I mean, even when the Dodgers for much of the 90s were just awful, people still tuned into him. I mean, he had that kind of power over people. I think the only other announcer who truly had that was Bob Uecker. But he had. Well, I was getting kind of concerned because when I was graduating college and getting ready to get a job, he was still broadcasting, and I was concerned, saying, "Wait, I've gone through my entire childhood up into being an adult, and he's still here." And he's still at work. And so yeah, he was truly one of a kind, and I don't think baseballs will ever have an announcer as iconic and as great as Vince Scully.
No question about it. Tony?
Yeah, definitely won't have anybody as iconic. Those footprints those shoes are way too big to fill. Iconic announcer for an iconic team. So that was like that perfect marriage to being there for the Dodgers, and somebody who just a baseball lifer, man. And you can tell, like you said, Eric, he can probably tell you the history of anything in baseball that would be boring to some people, And I'll probably be on the edge of my seat, like, tell me more. That can't be the end of the story. So yeah, man, R.I.P. to Vin Scully.
Candy.
He was a play-by-play announcer for 67 years, the longest of any broadcaster with a single team in professional sports history. But in addition to Dodgers baseball, he did various televised football and golf contests for CBS Sports from 75 to 82. He was the lead baseball play-by-play announcer for NBC Sports from 83 to 89. He called the World Series for CBS Radio from 79 to 82 and again from 90 to 97. Not only is he in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, he's got a Ford C. Frick Award. He actually has a Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he was inducted in the National Radio Hall of Fame as well. He has a Presidential Medal of Freedom Award as well. And prior to his final season, the Dodgers honored Scully by renaming the street that leads towards Dodger Stadium to Vin Scully Avenue. Awesome. Rest in peace, Vin.
Yeah, no question about it. Iconic. A few people realize that what he did for the NFL was unbelievable. I think he actually was on the call of that Joe Montana to Dwight Clark on the catch. And he molded people like John Madden before they got to the number one team. And very few people that realize that Vin Scully molded a lot of guys. He did so many things, but he was on the catch. And Vin Scully is just Vin Scully. I mean, it's just, I wish I would have gotten to meet him. Never worked out, but you know what? I'll talk about him any way that I can. And I'm proud to be a member of the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association, which he's been a part of for many years prior to his passing, for sure. All right, we'll get to one or two more baseball topics, and one of them is Jazz Chisholm wants an 8 to 10 year deal worth $35 million per season. Barry, is Jazz Chisholm worth that kind of money?
I don't even want to answer the question. I know you guys got two big Yankee fans. I was a Yankee player. He ain't my kind of Yankee. I think he's got great ability, and I might like him more if I played with him. But as I look out there at him and some of the antics he does, he's just not. I wouldn't give. There's almost very few guys that I'd give 8 to 10 year contracts. Anyway, I think the Dodgers have got the right idea, and some of these other ball clubs now. If you want him for 3 or 4 years, overpay him because you're going to be paying for it on the backside, and it just screws up your roster. So no, I don't blame him. I'd want 8 to 10 for 35 if I could get it, but he's not for me. Wouldn't give it to him.
Because you know what? I'm going to follow up with you. I don't think he's. I work with Jazz here with the Miami Marlins. A great guy, but for him, he's pricing himself out of the ballpark, pun intended. I don't think he's worth $35 million a year. I think he's the type of guy that if he gets a 5-year contract, maybe at $20 million a year, I might buy that a little bit more realistic. But that seems high. But I wouldn't give him 8 to 10 at 35 too. So Barry, I'm with you. I work with.
I might give it to him if he does what he says he's going to do, 50-50 this year. If he does that, he'll probably get the money.
Yeah, but I'm going to kind of ride with you on this one, Barry. I'll put it under the GMTA category. Barry, great minds think alike. All right, fair enough.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, Eric.
He's not that. I mean, there's only a handful of players in the sport worth that, and he is not one of them. Good player, but not that caliber. I'd probably put him he's probably I wouldn't call him middle tier player, but I wouldn't call him he shouldn't be trying to command something like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani money.
Fair. Okay, Tony.
Hey man, it's negotiation, right? You come in high, they come in low, you meet in the middle somewhere, right? I mean, he's coming off a good year, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, so that's going to get you paid. I don't know the total amount of money he's looking for, but 8 to 10 years, I agree with you, Barry. That model is dead, man. If you want to get your money, try and get as much as you can in a short contract, because by the time you're 37, 38, especially somebody like Jazz Chisholm, who relies on his athletic ability. Well, by the time you're 37, 38 years old, that's not going to be there anymore, right? So that's a bad deal on the back end. I'm interested to see how he plays this year, though, because players find a way to ball like they never balled before in a contract year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jazz Chisholm does for this, how he plays for the money. It's going to work out for me as a Yankees fan in the front end. I wonder how it's going to work for the front office on the back end.
All right, go to you, Candy.
So, yeah, I watched him play in Miami for years. He actually debuted September 1st, 2020 for the Marlins. He's only batting .248 over the course of his MLB. Only 108 home runs so far, 308 runs batting in, and 130 stolen bases. Part of Jazz's problem is staying healthy and staying on the field to play and get the stats worthy of a contract like that as well. But yeah, Hollywood Tony, you nailed it. If you're going to start contract negotiations, you're going to start high because you know you're not going to get that. Why start low? I mean, you want the max, you want more. I don't blame him for starting high. I just think giving very few people, a long contract like that is the way of the future, because I just don't see it, especially paying him that kind of money, especially with the CBA coming up.
This is how you do it. You give Jazz Chisholm a 4 or 5 year contract, and you give him all the custom made Jordans that his heart desires. That's how you do it.
Pretty good. Okay, we got one more soundbite. Then we also have Barry's segment as well. So, and that'll wrap up the show. So I asked Coach Manager Schneider what it was like to have these guys back at the end of spring training, and plus I asked him, was he able to get a good look at some of his other players? Candy, go to the sound. World Baseball Classic reference.
The World Baseball Classic just concluded. What were you able to learn about your club with a lot of the players gone? And, of course, now you have some of them back. So this is an opportunity where you had a chance to get your eyes on a few more guys. And, of course, now you have the regular group back, including Vlad.
Yeah, it was nice to see some opportunity for other guys. Guys that jump out to me: Brandon Valenzuela, Josh Kasevich, Arjun Namala, Sean Keys, Riley Terada. I felt like we were writing their name in a lot. So I think it's good experience for them. And it's also nice I think it was a couple days ago where we kind of had our normal regular guys kind of in a lineup, and to see how they kind of feed off of each other. That's the kind of the thing that I'm looking for. Is I think our lineup is very, I know Pop says the word creative a lot. I think it's a lot of different skill sets that can beat you in a lot of different ways. And it's cool to watch them feed off of one another when an inning gets going. And I think that last year taught them kind of what the situation calls for. And that's what I'm looking at now. It's again, it's spring training. You don't really care about the wins and loss, but just how the lineup operates as a whole. So the experiences were good for guys that got a little bit extra playing time. But I think the last couple of days we're kind of looking at, how the guys really flow 1 through 9.
Last year, you had a chance to go ahead and taste the World Series. You're 1 out away. How much is your team going to build off of that? And let's talk about the loss of Bo Bichette. How much are you going to be able to get around that and work through that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the experiences that we all went through, myself included, will only help us for this year when, those high pressure, high leverage spots come up. And, guys have navigated that, whether it's an at bat, whether it's a play, whether it's a bullpen guy coming in or a starter, navigating through a position or a situation. Or decisions that I have to make with the staff too. So I think that's all great, and almost, being so close, I think leaves a little bit of a chip on our shoulder to hopefully finish the job or get a little bit closer to getting to where we want to get to. We were still one of the 29 that didn't do what we wanted to do. So I think all those things are going to, pay off for us this year at different times of the year. And in terms of Bo, again, I think what we learned last year is we're not relying on one guy. Our goal is to always out team the other team and use everyone's skills appropriately to try to win that night. So we're not looking for Kaz, we're not looking for Addy, we're not looking for Varsh, or anyone to say, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z to pick up production that Bo did, have last year. It's just, how can you help us win and what is important right now? And my job is to find spots for them to do that, and then they just go play.
So there you have it, Barry. I got a few questions in for the manager. What are your thoughts about his takeaway about not looking at other players, getting close to it, and the Bo Bichette? I was able to string a few together at one time, and John Schneider was classy about it.
Yeah, you dragged a lot of information out of him with a couple questions, and I was glad to hear that because I've never heard him talk much. He's very well spoken. I was impressed by him from that standpoint. Hey, look, he's had his shot at the World Series. One little base running blunder probably cost him the World Series. But yeah, he's sounded well spoken, and I think it is good to see some kids you don't get to see. And your players are getting at bats going somewhere else and during the WBC. But yeah, I thought he was very well spoken.
I enjoyed John Schneider. He's really first time I've gotten to know him a little bit, and the guy's a class act. He's a guy you have to really pull for sure. And I appreciated his cooperation, let me get a few in, and the way he handled everything. He's definitely a class act. Eric?
I mean, pretty easy. Seemed like a pretty easy guy to work with as far as media wise. You ask him the question, he'll answer it. But yeah, I mean, good. I mean, obviously, it was a tough deal last year for Toronto. They basically had the thing won multiple, I think at least twice, where before Jeff Hoffman gave up the home run to the light hitting Miguel Rojas, and then the base running error by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and then obviously, Will Smith heel bone away from winning the World Series right there. But I think they're going to come in with a goal in mind. They're on a mission this year. I mean, it happened that they want to return to the World Series and actually win the whole thing. I mean, they went out and signed Dylan Cease. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Dylan Cease to bolster their rotation, which had kind of had question marks all year last year. And I believe that they finally have that. Now that they have him, I think that they're looking to run it back and try and bring home a championship to Canada, which hasn't happened in a very long time for any of their sports teams except for the Raptors.
Okay. Tony?
Shout out to Scott for the master class of getting good questions in amongst the group of people. That was a good job because, like you said, Barry, you got some good information out and a couple of questions, but they were so open-ended he was able to talk. But it is what he said is true. Like those at bats, that players that were getting in the WBC, they were just higher quality than what they would have been getting in spring training or when going down to double or triple A or wherever they're at. And that just helps the team, right? High tides raise all ships. It's going to be interesting to see how competitive and how hungry the Raptors. Thanks, Eric. The Blue Jays are going into this season because they started slow last year, right? Like it was we thought maybe they would have been sailors at the deadline, and then they kind of got hot. So I wonder if losing last year put a different competitive hunger into them and fire. And let's see how they attack this regular season. Them bringing in Dylan Cease does strengthen that rotation. So that's a question mark that they don't have now. So I want to see how they do. Hopefully they don't do too good against the Yankees.
So, Candy, what I want you to do here is this. Why don't you set the stage for what we were up against getting to Bradenton? That's what you can do and how everything came together so quickly.
Well, so we applied for a different game and we were denied. We applied for this game right in the nick of the last second. Let's pick a different game. Let's pivot. Let's try and get this game. We literally did not hear whether we had been approved for this game. Mind you, this game was Saturday at 1:00, I believe. And we learned that we were approved at 6:15 a.m. on Saturday. Mind you, we live on the east side of the state. Bradenton is on the west side of the state. So we drove 3 hours in 6 hours from 6:15 a.m. till 12:15. We drove the 3 hours, got to the ballpark, parked, got in, and Scott had 4 interviews before the game started. He was awesome. he was a master at work. And like listening to some of these, he has some other in-depth interviews that you'll have to go to the website or go to the YouTube channel to listen to. But these were just a little bit snippets of two of them. Watching him work, he is in his element when he is there asking questions. He does it off the cusp. He did not have anything prepared because obviously we didn't know which game we were even going to or who he would have a chance to speak with. So he got the batting coach for Toronto. He got a player from Toronto. He obviously talked to the manager, and then he talked to the play-by-play announcer for Pittsburgh. Here is a picture of Scott with the manager after they had talked. After the media availability, Scott got in a quick handshake. But one of the things that I love that the manager said is that his job is to figure out who he's got talent-wise and get the most out of them, and that it's not up to just one player. So Scott hit a lot of nails on the head with a lot of his questions, which he normally does. I really I admire him for being able to think as quickly on his feet as he does in an interview like that.
Thank you, Candy. And we're going to play all little bits and pieces of some of these other players and coaches as well. But since we wanted to get my main objective tonight was to get Joe Block and John Schneider on, because the WBC is over with, and obviously we wanted to make sure we got his philosophy as to how he handles it as well. So any questions or comments? Because now we're going to Barry Foote. He's going to give us his take of what he sees going on in his world of baseball. But I enjoy challenges like this. You can, because Barry, it was like I do. When you've been around a certain, whether it's sports or baseball for a while, you're expected to know what you're talking about. So it should be easier. But for the average individual, whether they see it or not, I just thrive on it. It's in my element. And Alzheimer's or not, the one thing I can tell you is I have to maintain a big degree of activity in order to keep it rolling. And that's why I enjoy the challenge of fighting this disease and with every challenge that we get. And I'm glad that Katie's able to get to me on these things so she can do the videos that she does. So, but yeah, John Schneider was great and Joe Block was great. And we'll have other bits and pieces as we go along as well. But those are important for us to get out today anyway. All right, Barry, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. The floor is yours. Why don't you tell us what's on your mind, and we can go from there. It's your weekly segment.
I'm going to tell you what's really on my mind. The most irritating thing about Major League Baseball right now, position players pitching. I think it's an atrocious, awful, with a stat-driven sport like baseball, the only sport that I don't know how it is now with the young kids, but it's based on statistics, and we are allowing position players to come in and pitch games where a guy can win a home run title because he hit a home run off of a backup shortstop. I think that's the most atrocious thing, especially when you have rosters that have 14, sometimes 15 pitchers on the roster, and you got to call in a position player. That's something that the new CBA should address and do something about, and I got the answer for that too. Bring in 2 AAA type pitchers, let them be on the reserve roster, and when you have those situations come up, bring them into the game to pitch. Do away with this stuff where you're letting a guy go. It's an embarrassment to the game. To me, it's just the worst, most atrocious thing I've seen in baseball in the last 20 years is allowing these position players to go in there and pitch. I think it's awful.
Well, you know what? Now that you brought that up, Barry, you know what we're going to do next week because you feel so strong about this? One of the people I spoke to during the spring was Cody Clemens. And you know what? I have a soundbite about him doing exactly that. So you just gave me a good idea for next Monday night show, Barry. I got Cody Clemens. So I'm serious.
I like the other Clemens as a pitcher. I'm not sure about that one.
Well, but that's kind of fits what you're talking about, though, Barry. I asked Cody the same thing. We were hoping to get another Twins game in, but on Sunday it was hard to get credential for anything because everybody's taking off. There aren't as many teams around. But I was lucky I was able to do my damage on Saturday, have yesterday to chill, and then of course we did some good work down in Miami with the Canes as well. So great stuff. I'm going to actually bring a Cody Clemens quote on here next week, and then you can reinforce what you talked about, and we will turn it into a topic. Great stuff, Barry. My battery mate gives me all kinds of ideas because the wheels are indeed turning. All right, with that said, that does conclude this edition of 108 Sixes Baseball Talk, but we're going to let everybody know how to get a hold of me. Candy will lead us with one station break, and we'll lead off with my co-host, Barry Foote. Let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
bcfootxx@gmail.com, and Monday nights with the Motor City Mad Math.
You know it, my battery mate, way back to Fort Lauderdale and long after that. All right, Eric, your turn.
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Scene News, or check out my blog, bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing about all things Brewers. And if you think I don't like your team, I probably don't.
By the way, Asia 444, howdy, how are you? Thanks for popping in tonight. Okay, Tony, you're next.
Yep. All social media, Talking Game 1, YouTube, Tony Talking Game. Y'all see me talking all kind of sports. Yeah.
And Tony's also on the Wednesday Night Sports Exchange, and when we bring back the Saturday baseball show. Candy, take us on with the station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed. Go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. You want to see a picture of a young Scott with a young Tommy Lasorda, get the book. The audio version is also available, so you can get that as well. On our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, there's a link to the book as well. But there's a plethora of great other content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise, or if you want to be on a show, or you have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it like a share us with all your friends and family, anyone you think would enjoy, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Monday nights is baseball night. Tuesday nights is football night. Wednesday night, oh my goodness, you're in for a treat. He did 3 last week. I think he's going to do, I'm not sure. Is he doing 2 or 3 this week? But see, that's why you got to turn on the notifications so you're notified every time he goes live. Thursday nights, he's got Sports Wrap where he talks either hockey or soccer. And then on Fire Up, you never know what you're going to get as well. So definitely make sure your notifications are turned on. Back to you, Scott.
All right, well, that does do it here for 108 Sixes Baseball Talk. On behalf of Barry Foote, Eric Katz, Hollywood Tony, Candy Ebley, my name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you Monday night, probably at 8 o'clock. Today we had to push the time back a little bit because Candy and I were in Miami. We'll get closer to the normal time, but either way, we're still making really nice time nonetheless. Had to get that pro day in, Barry. You know how that is when it comes to stuff like this. But 15 minutes was going to make or break us tonight anyway. And hopefully Warren Brewster feel a bit better. Miss him, but you know what? The show's been going on at this time for a long time, and we love whoever comes on. This is the core group. So on behalf of all 5, thank you very much. We'll see you next Monday night. Have a great week, everybody.